This episode of Express Training Bites is brought to you by PageFlip.
Not going to in-person trade shows this year and still need to get your catalogs out to those distributors? Upload your digital catalog to Promo Corner's PageFlip. Contact sales at promocorner.com.
One of the things that I always get asked about, especially because I'm kind of known for doing content, I am the digital media director over at Promo Corner, is how do you stay going with all the content? How do you keep it fresh? How do you do this? I get 1,000 questions. And since the pandemic and since everything kind of went this way, I thought it would probably be time to stop propping everybody up and say, you can do it, and go out there and do it, and answer a lot of those dark side questions that I do get asked all the time. And I know a lot of my friends who are content creators also get asked. So I'm actually going to set it up here so that I can see the comment section too. So if you have any stories, if you have anything you want to ask me while I'm doing this, please feel free to put it into the comment section down in the Facebook side of things. So speaking of which, the number one thing, I'm going to go through 4 things. And the number one thing that you always have to look at when you're putting together content and places that it can go wrong is the who. Now, again, exactly what I'm talking about. The reason that you're just getting me today. I had a guest lined up. I had somebody ready to go. They accepted the invite and life gets in the way. So when you're creating your content, you do have to think about that. You do have to think about who is going to be on screen. Who is going to be the guest? Are we going to be able to pivot? Are we going to be able to maneuver? Are we going to be able to shift when things go wrong? When you can be okay with things going wrong and things not going perfectly to plan, then your piece of content is already on the right path. So a dark side is people have their own lives. Things are going to happen. And so what are you going to do to continue to make your content happen? And that's how you're going to get out and around that. So this whole time that I'm telling you about all these crazy things that can happen with your content, I'm also going to help you realize that you can get out of every single one of these situations that you get put in. I know that another big one that everybody talks about, so we've already gone through who, is when. When are you going to do this? So how are you, when are you like consistency, right? Everybody talks about consistency with content. And so when are you going to put it out? What time of day? How often? Is this going to be a daily piece, a weekly piece, a monthly piece, a quarterly piece? Well, all of those questions will actually directly affect when you can actually do your other jobs. So, right. So as you're adding all this amazing content to your website to get your customers fired up for what you're doing and what you're selling, remember, when you say yes to that piece of content, when you say yes to the time that it's going to take to put that thing together, you're saying no to something else. A really good friend of mine just recently reminded me of that. And so just remember that when you're putting this content together, you have a life too, and you have a work too. So that balance between those two things, you're throwing a third column in there, which is content. So one of the things about the win that has helped me is you've got to create a calendar. Now, I have a phenomenal team behind me over at Promo Corner, so I get to have amazing things like this. So this is our content calendar for Promo Journal. This is all of the stuff that just goes up on Promo Journal. Now, that's just a little quick flash of what our Promo Journal content calendar looks like. So the reason I wanted to show you that is I also wanted to remind you that that is just what goes on Promo Journal. We have a whole another calendar that is all for these live events and all of the promo show things that go live and all of the other people that we're helping that are using Promo Show as a contractor for their stuff. All of these schedules have to meld together. So the win is a major, major, major question and a major roadblock. So you can be happy with making a daily piece of content like Promo a day, but just remember that's every day you're making that commitment. So we've gone through the who, we've gone through the when. Now the how. How are you going to produce it? How, are you going to film it? Are you going to edit it? Are you going to post it? Are you going to put it up everywhere where it needs to go? How is it going to be done? So again, going back to the win, this how works very close hand in hand with the win. But how are you going to get a VA? So if you do that, to get a virtual assistant to help you out, how are you going to be able to get your vision out of your head and into their head so that what they give you back is what you are looking for? Those are some of the hardest things to kind of figure out, and you do kind of have to suss them out and figure it out and get it all laid out, and you are going to mess up. You will mess up, and that is okay. Every failure creates a solution, or for every failure there's a solution created, and it just is another step forward. So don't be afraid to mess up. So on the how side of things, how is it going to be produced, and how are you going to post it, right? So are you going to put it up day of? Are you going to schedule it out in advance? That question needs to be answered really fast, and that one can also be a major roadblock when you're doing things as well. There's so many different ways to post. Is it going to be a live piece of content? Is it going to be premiered, which means it's scheduled and it still kind of has notifications, but it's not really alive, but it kind of is? Is it going to be a native post? Is it going to be done by a third-party program like Buffer or Hootsuite? These are all things that can be good, but they're, again, the dark side of creating content. You have to answer all of these questions under just that one big question of how. How is it going to be produced, and how are you going to put it up? So that's three things. That's the who, when, and how. And now the big one that I harp on almost every single person that produces content and asks me how can they get more views on their piece of content is the where. And I don't mean just where are you shooting it and where do you live and where are you getting your product. I mean, where does this live? Now, again, I am super lucky to be working with the amazing team over at Promo Corner. We've got Promo Journal, which is phenomenal, that houses all of our content. And then we have an amazing following. And thank you so much. Amazing following here on Facebook. And I know that everybody here knows how to find all of our content. But when you're putting up a piece of content, if you've got an amazing video blog, but nobody knows where to find it, you're never going to get views. So one of those things is, how do you build views? Well, where is your content? Is it on its own website? Is it just on your personal Facebook page, but it's actually meant for your business? Is it on your business page and everybody else shares it, but nobody really knows like where to actually go and watch it live? These are all little questions that you have to answer. This is the dark side of that content, of all of these things have to go through your head first before you can even speak into that little dot, before you can even have the idea of creating something, right? So I've got a little bit of knowledge when it comes to creating content. And so these four things, the who, the when, the how, and the where, are things that I just want you to constantly be thinking about before you create your first piece of content. Now, all of that is just to help you actually make your content the best it possibly can be. I don't want to sit here and say you have to think about all this stuff. So don't even get started if you haven't answered every single one of these. What this is I just want you to be aware that content isn't just record and post. I have a lot of friends on Facebook that go on vacations and they take trips and they take pictures and they upload their entire camera roll. So how was the vacation? Because we don't really know. We just kind of saw every picture you posted, but how was it? Was it special? Was it not? What were you there for? Those things didn't answer the question. So it didn't really give out the who. They didn't even answer the who part of it. They got the when, they got the how, and they got the where, but they didn't answer the who. Who is in there and who is going to be watching this? I've also got friends that have an amazing interview show and they don't post it on any super consistent basis, but it's consistent enough that you can find it. But if you're not following them on Facebook, you would never know it existed. And there's nowhere for you to go outside of their Facebook page to find this piece of content. They've done well over 100 shows and nobody can find it. That's something they answered the who, they answered the when, and they answered the how, but they never answered the where. And so I feel like those two pieces of content that my friends are actually putting out there could do 1,000 times better if they just would have answered all four of those questions first or as they were going. So go out there, create some content, grab a camera, grab your cell phone. Grab your cell phone. Start taking pictures, start taking videos, start doing things that you like to do and think about those four things. Think about the who, the when, the how, and the where. And that content is going to be amazing. Now, virality. So I want to talk about that real quick too, because that's something that everybody asks me about. How did my video do? How did my pictures do? How did my flyer do? How did my email do? How did everybody wants to know how it did? If you reach one person with that flyer, with that video, with that piece of content, it was a success. I struggle all the time with people who come to me and tell me, "Oh, well, I stopped doing those videos or I stopped doing that podcast because I only had like 20 to 25 people watching it." Another buddy of mine and I were talking the other day. We realized, and actually, he had the epiphany, it may be 25 people that are looking at it. That's the number that Facebook, Instagram, YouTube all gives you, but it's probably a different 25 people every time. So if you put out five pieces or you put out four pieces of content and 25 different people watch each little piece, it's 100 people you just reached. That is that is so hard to explain to somebody who is just staring at numbers. Reach, you just have to reach one person. That piece of content will be worth it if you just reached one person. If you changed one person's life, then that piece of content was awesome. And hopefully, that at least that one person you reached was yourself. I want to say that again. Hopefully, that one person you reached is yourself. If you're not making this content for yourself, for your happiness, or to build your business, something for you, then don't do it. If you're not going to be happy doing it, people are going to notice. People can tell really quickly if you do not want to be there, and they can hear it in your voice. They can hear it in the way that you do things. Everybody asks me, how are you so energetic? How are you so open to doing all of these shows and live and having multiple monitors and things go down? And how are you able? Because I love doing this. There's a little bit inside me. I always joke around. I'm kind of like I'm a narcissist that wants everybody to be one with me, right? So I'm the team leader that I want to make sure that I look good. And if you look good, then I look good too. So think about that when you're creating content. Make sure that you are doing it for you. Because if that one person that you're trying to reach isn't yourself, then you're doing it for all the wrong reasons. So I'm going to wrap it up. I've been talking for 13 minutes about this. I did a speech about it at SKUCon too when I was talking about the build of Promo Day. Content is awesome. It is super powerful. It is king right now. People are spending more and more and more hours on their computer watching content. So remember, four things: who, when, how, and where. And if you want to know what those are, go back and watch it. Or I recorded this and I repost these on Tuesday afternoons on Promo Journal. So go check it out there. All right, guys, that's going to do it for Express Training Bites today. Now, again, I'm going to have a guest next Thursday. But again, we'll see. That's the dark side. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next Thursday for Express Training Bites at Promo Corner's Facebook page. Thanks.